Very excited to talk college football with the commissioner himself, Josh Pate, at Josh Pate CFB on Twitter, the host of the Josh Pate College Football Show, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, live on YouTube, 5 o'clock our time. Check the podcast wherever you get the podcast, and go give him a follow on social media. Josh, there's about 30 different things that we can start here with, and I, at the beginning of the show, thought, hey, we're going to start with this UNLV quarterback situation because this is bonkers, and then we're tracking the weather in Tuscaloosa. I also want to ask you about that, but I think I'm going to go personal here with my opener. You have a very strong stance on fall weddings. I have to go to a wedding this weekend, and the service starts at 5 o'clock. I'm wondering, I need some guidance here. What do I do? How do I handle it? Is it okay to watch the game on my phone while I'm, watching the service? How am I supposed to handle this fall wedding?
Okay, well, first off, good morning to you all. Secondly, it is a disservice. There is no service being provided to anyone. It is a disservice that you're attending. Thirdly, you're an American citizen. You got the right to do whatever you want to, and that includes your actions during a wedding. Fourthly, let's just clarify the stance. I know that there's some guys driving around solo listening right now who are nodding their head in agreement, but I do know there's someone gathered around the breakfast table right now or around the kitchen island, and maybe someone else, a significant other, is within earshot. So I know that you technically can agree with us, even though in your soul you can. I just want to speak for you. No one is against fall marriage. No one thinks football games are more important than the institution of marriage. We're all for your marriage. The big mistake is thinking that your wedding should matter to other people more than a football game does. And they always think that they pull the gotcha moment because they always think they've got you when they say, are you saying that a football game is more important than our wedding? And then when I say point blank, yes, football is more important than your wedding to me, they have no clue where to go. Turn the tables on these people is my advice.
I mean, it's Alabama, Georgia, man. It's Alabama, Georgia.
It's not just Alabama, Georgia. I would add to it, too. Imagine Josh being in your exact position, Dirt. This is a lady friend's family member, so he's kind of obligated. Could you imagine telling 10-year-old Josh Pate, 12-year-old Josh Pate, Josh, you're going to get to go to Alabama, Georgia in a hurricane, but you got to go to a wedding instead. I can't imagine how devastated little Josh Pate would have been.
Well, little Josh Pate, although meek and agreeable in other facets of his life, would have stoned up, as Meemaw would say. And I have done it before in a Georgia-Alabama game that was played in the midst of a tropical depression. So I've got experience here, guys. It happened in 2015. I stood there in Athens, Georgia on the sideline and got soaked and watched Alabama win the game 38-10. So it's good. It's good to get the reps under your belt so that you're prepared for times like these.
Well, let's get to that game. I mean, easily the biggest game of the weekend. We're fired up for it. It's I can't wait to watch. Are we more excited if we spent more time this week breaking down weather patterns for Tuscaloosa or matchups, in-game matchups in Georgia and Alabama?
Oh, it's an in-game matchup. Look, between you and I and the radio, I was tracking that thing early last week because the advanced modeling showed something. Modeling's been great on this, by the way. And then for the Oklahoma-Tennessee game, I go to Norman. They invite me over to the National Weather Service, which is headquartered there. And so I got a really good firsthand look at it. Wow. It's gone. It's going to be fine. Weather's going to be dry, so we're good on that front. The matchup is what it's all about here. And you had to excuse the echo because I was in the stairwell there. So we've got a very explosive offense here against a defense that hasn't allowed a touchdown. And the beautiful thing about college football, especially early in the year, is you have prove-it games, I guess, or show-me games, as I like to call them. Immovable force, immovable object. It was the Hogan-Andre kind of situation. So we get to find out. We get to learn about the profiles of these teams. A couple of things that I'm paying attention to. One of them will be very near and dear to every heart up there. The first thing is I think Alabama's going to be able to run the ball in Georgia. If anyone watched that Georgia-Kentucky game, Georgia played 3 defensive linemen, 50-plus snaps, and the next closest was 17. It's because they had a lot of guys out, and they're not as deep at that position as they have been in years past. Now, Kentucky did not sustain enough drives to really make them pay for it in the fourth quarter. Alabama may be able to, but here's the second thing. As I was going back and forth on this, I think this is a Carson Beck game. They don't have a superstar receiver on that team, but in the aggregate, they should have good enough athlete to match Alabama, just like Bama did in the SEC title game last year. It didn't matter that Bama had nearly lost to Auburn the week before. When these two teams play, it's a total one-game season thing. But here's what should strike near and dear to everyone's heart up there. when you're trying to decide between coaching matchups and edges here and there and what you think will be a close game, it's true that Kalen DeBoer has not faced Georgia. He hadn't faced Kirby Smart. However, the guy who was running Kirby Smart's defense for a while is the head coach at Oregon now. And I know Kalen DeBoer faced him twice last year as an underdog both times because I was there both times. And they beat Oregon once by throwing it on them, and they beat Oregon again by running it on them. So they did it many different ways. Kalen DeBoer's teams are brilliant at not getting in over their skis and adjusting in game. And in a game that's going to be close, when you give me that and you give me home field, I ended up narrowly going with Alabama to win the thing.
Yeah, I'm excited for it, man. I want to see what DeBoer does. It's a big spot for him and Bama fans. Big story this morning, kind of came out in the middle of the night, but this morning it's picking up steam. I didn't think UNLV would be much of a topic today, but here is their quarterback choosing to redshirt and basically quit on the season over an NIL dispute. We have reporting both ways. We say, no, they haven't been paid. And we have, yes, he's been paid, but he has an agent now. I don't like to get into hyperbole, but is this maybe a diversion, a fork in the road moment for college football with this story and what they do going forward, maybe this offseason with player contracts, unions, all that stuff? Or is this a one-off that smells really weird?
Well, it smells really weird. I'll grant you that. I've kind of kept my mouth shut on it so far because I know in stories like this, it's not like a game prediction. That's just your opinion, and you can pop off at the mouth however early you see fit. With this, it's really obvious that there are two sides to the story, and probably a blend of them is the reality. But in the aggregate, zoom it out 50,000 feet, it's pathetic for college football, and yet that is college football right now. I do think it may be a precursor of things to come, but I also think in a twisted way, I'm glad it happened this glaringly. I actually wish it would have been a bigger program that it happened to, because it probably takes these kind of like glaring slap in the face type examples to shake people into action that otherwise have sort of hung out on the sideline, no pun intended, and just kind of let things slowly get to where we are now. So I don't know. I'm sure a lot more details will come out today. But just no matter who's at fault or if anyone's at fault, it's just pathetic that it's been allowed to get here.
Yeah, I agree with that take. Josh Pate is our guest. He's you can catch his show every Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, live on YouTube. Josh Pate's College Football Show, 5 o'clock our time. Give him a follow on Twitter at Josh Pate CFB. He's going to be in Tuscaloosa this weekend for the big Alabama-Georgia game. Out of this weekend, one of the funnier things that I observed watching football was just how chaotic the Big 12 is, man. You get Utah with a backup quarterback going on the road, and we've seen them do that in the Pac-12 for years, so we were very familiar with that performance, finding a way to win with defense. You have Colorado winning with a Hail Mary. Kansas State gets boat raced by BYU late at night for those still awake. How are we we knew coming into the year the Big 12 was going to be chaos. It feels like it's going to be chaos. How are we handicapping the Big 12 race early in the season?
Well, clearly that just means Iowa State's the front runner. I mean, if there's no clear winner emerging and you've got me on the phone,
that's the tiebreaker.
Iowa State is your front runner. And hey, listen, unlike years past where I had to pinch myself and cringe as I said it, this is a team that could actually do something there. I think Central Florida is the most underrated team in the country. I tweeted it out the other day. You guys may have seen it. I don't look at the AP. And so it took until last Friday for me to have looked at the AP for the first time this year in totality. I've seen headlines about it and stuff. So I was just assuming that UCF was ranked. I've got them top 20 in my power rating. So I just assumed they were ranked, and they weren't even in the top 25, nor the top 30, nor the top 35. So I thought just copious drug use going into the AP poll formation right now. And so they could do something. They go to Iowa State in a few weeks. Utah certainly is a prime player there. I think one of the most fun sort of semi-off-the-radar games this weekend is Oklahoma State coming off that loss. They go to Kansas State coming off a loss to Brigham Young. Kansas State somehow finds a way to outgain BYU by 100 and lose by 31.
Wild.
Figure that out. Try that on Xbox, 1,000 simulations. So that's kind of a back-against-the-wall sort of do-or-die moment for those teams in terms of Big 10 or Big 12 championship contention. So America's College Football Conference is delivering as we always knew it would.
A kind of two-parter for you. One, the Pac-12, the expansion, the on-off, this team's in, no, this team's out, no, this team's deciding, the whole weirdness of it as the season's playing out. And then kind of under the radar, I think for the college football sickos out there, us, Washington State at Boise State. Very interesting game just from a group of five standpoint. What do you make of the Pac-12 stuff? And then Wazoo at Boise State.
Yeah, and I kind of view all the G5 stuff in sort of a little blender because you're getting you're probably getting one participant out of that. And then, so UNLV was a player there, and then we see what's happening to them. Boise, I guarantee you the only thing people really know about them is they almost beat Oregon. Because that's the reality of being a G5 program. So, Washington State, like Dickert up there, is doing a really good job. I'm sure he's on certain radars, like search firm radars and stuff, but I still don't think, and it may be that the moment never comes this year where the national spotlight is on those teams. But, I'm paying attention. Me and however many other people are paying attention, so good on them. Yeah, that's another sneaky game.
Yeah, Saturday night's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of interesting matchups, including Oregon and UCLA. I'm going to ask you out of the the Ann Arbor game this weekend. Michigan wins, 4th and goal, run the ball. We all knew they were going to run the ball. I don't know how to feel about USC. On the one hand, I'm wildly impressed with the fact that I feel like their defense has drastically improved. Well, on the other hand, Michigan just has literally they have no threat of throwing the football whatsoever, and you still can't find a way to get a stop. Is it okay to be somewhere in the middle on Lincoln Riley and their defense and what he's doing now in year 3 in Los Angeles?
Yeah, I think that's where I am. I wouldn't even say I'm in the middle. I'm still high on them. Last week, to put this in context, I picked Michigan to win the game outright. What everyone thought was going to be a weakness, which is them going to Orgy as the backup quarterback, I thought was not a strength per se, but it was a really good alignment move, and they know they can't throw the ball. So they did what they do, and I think last year that game's about 45-16 against USC, and then this year all of a sudden they're in it. They lead with 7 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. So I don't know. You lose on a 4th and goal late. That's football. Yeah. It doesn't have to be a program indictment. And then in the zoom-out approach, USC does not play Oregon. They do not play Ohio State. Ohio State plays Penn State and Oregon on the road. So there's a lot still to come. Michigan plays Oregon and Ohio State too. So I think the net result was, USC lost a game, validated a little bit about themselves, and down the road, they're probably a bigger Big Ten championship threat than Michigan is, even after they lost to them.
Georgia is going to be interesting what they do at Bama, and your answer may just be Georgia, everybody else, maybe Georgia, Ohio State. Tennessee with a really impressive road win and what they did to Oklahoma. They broke a quarterback. They made a quarterback change. You look at, you mentioned Penn State. Ole Miss has had a good start. We got a lot of big games ahead of us. How many teams in college football, Josh, do you look at? Because I'm getting excited for the 12-teamer. I know you're not a 12-team guy, but how many teams legitimately in your mind at this point of the season can win the national championship?
Oh, I would say at this point probably half a dozen of them or so is where I'd be. If we're winning a title, being a playoff contender is exponentially more. So I do want to caution everyone. Let's just be careful here. You have your right to love the playoff or hate the playoff or whatever, but let's start to realize what's happening. The SEC's got like 6 of the top 8 odds teams to win the national title right now. So we may very well be headed for a world where, although we once thought it was going to inject more competitive balance and opportunity into the equation, has just been used as a back-funneling mechanism to get more of the SEC in a quarterfinal, semifinal, final situation. And I just want to ask this. I'm on the record as stating my displeasure with playoff expansion. Okay, so for the crowd that loves it, and I'm speaking to one right now, do we maintain the same energy if we have an all-SEC Final Four this year, which could happen?
God.
I think that answers your question.
You didn't have to take me there.
Damn it, that's a dark place, Josh.
How dare you?
This is I am your quarterback, and I just called you in the middle of the night, and I quit on you.
You did. You totally did. Right, we gave you the NIL money, man. Come on, Josh. Josh Pate, CFB on Twitter. Go give him a follow. Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. He's the best out there. It is the best college football show that exists. 5 o'clock live on YouTube. All 3 of those days. Can't wait for the show tomorrow night. Give him a follow on Twitter at Josh Pate, CFB. Always enjoy the time, man. Have a great time down in Tuscaloosa this weekend. I will be watching from a wedding. So think of me for a brief moment as you're standing on that sideline, and look forward to our chat next week.
I just want you to tell the groom one thing and one thing only.
Yeah.
I hope she's worth it. From me to him, I hope she's worth it.
You got it, buddy. You got it. There you go. Josh Pate, great stuff from him.
You just lean in and you whisper, I hope she's worth
This
it.
better be worth it.
George is only up 3.
If you get divorced in the next 5 years.
You want a hot take?
What do you got?
I'll give you a hot take.
Yeah.
I actually don't think you're going to turn this on.
You don't think I'm going to turn it on at the wedding?
No, I think you're going to try, and she's going to tap your leg, and you're going to put it away, and you'll
Make it a
realize
dip.
I've lost. This is on the DVR, and I'm going to have to wait till 9 o'clock tonight to watch this, and then you're going to have to wake up at 6 to watch the other stuff that you missed before the NFL kicks off.
Now,